I'm Dr. Teter, and I'll give you guys an overview of what research opportunities are available specifically in the Burnett School. And if you haven't realized yet, there is a severe supply and demand problem for finding an undergraduate research position, campus-wide, but especially in the Burnett School. There are about 2,500 or so majors in the Burnett School, undergraduate majors, and about 35 faculty. So you guys can kind of do the math and figure out how difficult it is to find a research position in the first place. So if you haven't found one yet, keep your eyes open going into this. It's going to be difficult to find a position just because of that supply and demand problem. I'll revisit this problem towards the end of my talk. But we realize that this is a problem, that we can't place everybody in a lab, and so we've developed a couple of programs that are designed to expand opportunities for undergraduate research. These are the first two programs here, Pilot and GEAR. The PURE program is designed to enhance the research experience that you're receiving. So you're working in a lab, and PURE is just additional information on top of that research experience. I'll go through each of these. One component of PURE is what you're sitting in now, the Career Seminar Series. This is open to all students as part of the PURE class, and it's designed to increase your awareness of the opportunities that are available out there, both on campus and job opportunities once you're done here at UCF. If there's anything I don't cover or any questions you think about later, I have a fact posted on our department website about everything about undergraduate research. So those are the questions I frequently get. I guess that's why it's called a fact. And if you have questions that aren't addressed here, you can go to that website and hopefully the answer will be there. If not, contact me and I'll add your question and answer to the list. I also recently added to the department website in the same area under the Burnett School banner a fact that's specific for the honors and major program for the Burnett School. So if you had questions you didn't get asked Denise at the beginning of this talk, or something that's specific about honors and major for the Burnett School, you can reference that secondary fact as well. So I'll start with talking about those programs, Pilot and GEAR, that are meant to expand opportunities for undergraduate research. And Pilot, we have a lot of acronyms in the Burnett School. Pilot stands for Peer Instruction and Laboratory Occupational Training. And I'll credit Dr. Borgon with that, with managing to fit that that way. There are two components to this program. There's the peer instruction, and then there's the laboratory occupational training. So this program is a dual program. You serve as a teaching assistant for QBM. So you're going to help prep a lab. You're going to help students during the lab, explain the techniques, help the students get through the experiment, and all Pilot students present one lecture to the QBM class. Not the entire class, but the specific lab section you're assigned to. So you're a TA for the class. And on top of that, you're also working on a small individual project for the QBM class. So this is not an original research experience per se. You aren't generating necessarily new knowledge that would be published, but you are learning critical lab skills. What you're doing for the QBM lab is maybe you're optimizing a protocol that they use in QBM, or you're establishing a new procedure that Dr. Borgon might want to use in the class in the future, or you're purifying a protein that he'll use for the QBM class. So you're doing some hands-on training and you're learning skills, but what you're doing is generating resources that can be used for the QBM class as a whole. Now this is still a valuable experience because even though it's not original research, what you're doing for the laboratory occupational training component of this is troubleshooting and optimizing protocols and figuring out what's working and what's not working. And if you have an original research project, that's what you do anyway. A lot of research is troubleshooting, figuring out what went wrong, correcting that error, and then trying again. So you get hands-on experience, you get to work in the lab with your own mini project here. You may purify protein, you may make a recombinant DNA construct. There are some mini projects related to faculty interests as well, so you may be doing something that a faculty member is interested in, and could possibly transition from that project into that lab. But this is mainly support for the QBM lab. So about half the students that enroll in pilot already have a research experience. They're already working in a lab, and they're in pilot to get that opportunity to teach. And the other half of students don't have a research experience yet, so they're generally more interested in this component of the class, the working in the lab. But from the surveys we've administered, it seems like everybody enjoys the teaching component as well as the research component of pilot. Pilot is an official class at UCF. It does require instructor approval, and that instructor is Dr. Borgon, the head of the QBM class. How many of you guys have had QBM already? Some, but not everybody. Okay, so if you want to get into pilot, you first have to take QBM, because if you're going to be a TA for the class, you have to know what the class is about. And Dr. Borgon is the gatekeeper there. If you're going to be a TA for the class, he wants to ensure you did well in the class to begin with. So basically, you need to finish QBM, get an A in the class, and then ask Dr. Borgon if there's a spot in pilot for you to serve as a TA and a research assistant. It's a 3-unit class. It's graded on an SU basis, and you can use this as an restricted elective credit. And I say possible here because you can use it as a restricted elective credit, but there are 3 classes in the Burnett School we consider to be research-related restricted elective credits, and you can only use one of those as a restricted elective. You can participate in all 3, but only one would count as a restricted elective. Pilot is one of those, honors and major is the second one, and pure is the third one. So you could do all 3 of those if you wanted, but only one of them will count as a restricted elective. And pilot is offered during both fall and spring semesters. Another class that we've developed in order to expand opportunities for hands-on training and research is called GEAR, another acronym, Group Effort Applied Research. And in this case, GEAR is an original research project. You will be doing something new. You will be discovering something new. You'll be working on a project related to a faculty member's research interest. So the idea behind GEAR is kind of shown schematically here. And the basic conceit behind GEAR is that we faculty, can train undergraduates in bulk to work on a research project. The traditional research project up here is a one-on-one match, one student, one faculty mentor. And the problem with that, again, is the supply and demand thing. If we take one student, then most of the other students get left behind. We match one student with one mentor, and everybody else is left out. And when you get that research project with your one mentor, your experience is going to vary depending on who you're paired with, both for your mentor, who you're paired with in the lab for the graduate student or the postdoc you're working with. And your progress is also going to vary as well. So in most cases, if you're working in a lab, this is your progress. You're spinning your wheels a lot, repeating things over and over again, hoping to get something to work. Every once in a while, something does work, and you move ahead to the next stage, and then you start spinning your wheels again. Things don't work. You're troubleshooting the problem, figuring out what's going on. So starting work in a lab is kind of like learning to drive a stick shift, if you've done that. It's a very stop-start type of process. This one down here never really happens. Nobody gets everything to work. Nothing ever works smoothly for a person. So there's a lot of failure and a lot of stop-start going on in the lab. GEAR tries to get through all 3 of those problems, supply and demand, mentoring, and success, by training students in bulk. So now in GEAR, we're offering original research experience, but we're doing it in a class setting. So in GEAR, there may be 12 or 15 students in a class, and they're all going to be mentored by a single faculty mentor. That faculty mentor will train the students in bulk. You'll all get the same training, learn the same techniques, learn how to work in a lab, and then you will be put in the lab to work on a specific project. And the way this usually works is kind of shown schematically at the bottom here. There may be 5 groups of you, and each group would get an overlapping set of samples. And so you're all trained in this same technique. Now group A will get unknown samples 1 through 3. Group E will get samples 3, 4, 5. There's overlap there, so if 2 groups get the same result for the same sample, the faculty member can be confident you guys are getting a real result. And because you're all working with the same techniques and all working on the same project, if some of the groups fail with the X's here, maybe one of the groups succeeds, and the project can move forward as a result. And this team that gets the first stage of the project to work can distribute those reagents to the rest of the lab class, and then you all start over at stage B. And then somebody gets stage B to work. The group as a whole relies on that success and moves to the next stage. So the idea is the success and the forward momentum of a project will work better when you have many people working on that project in tandem than just your lone self in the lab trying to get things to work on your own. Yeah, there's a question? That depends on who teaches it. So gear right now is offered sporadically. It is an official course offering, and it may or may not require instructor approval depending on who's teaching it. The basic outline of gear will be the same every semester. You'll be in a classroom with a group of other students. You will receive lecture content on the basic background information of the project, basic lab skills, lab techniques. But the project you work on is going to differ, and it's going to depend on the faculty member teaching the class, because the faculty member is going to sponsor a project that they're interested in that's related to their research. So the project varies every semester, and the prerequisites also vary because different faculty members will have different expectations for their students. We've had a gear class that was offered just for honor students over the summer. We had a gear class that was offered to sophomores with no research experience. We've had a gear class that required QBM as a prerequisite. So it just depends on which faculty member is sponsoring that particular gear class. And it is sporadic right now. It's not offered every semester. It's just when a faculty member has a project available and we have time and space available for this class. So if you're interested in gear, you basically just need to look at the catalog every semester and see if there's a course available or not. Right. So those are the two programs that are designed to expand opportunities and get more students involved. PURE is a program for students that are in a research lab, and it's meant to expand the content of that research experience. So you're actually sitting in PURE right now. PURE students are required to attend these seminars to expand their career awareness. But as I said, these seminars are open to all of you guys. So for PURE, our target population are students that are going to go on and get an advanced degree. They're going to go to medical school, health professional school, graduate school. And about 90 of the students that complete the program do go on to one of those types of programs. The goal is to provide not just a research experience, but to provide some consistent content to that research experience and to give you a big picture overview of what the research community is like. So you aren't just working at a bench in a lab, but you're gaining an idea of what the greater community of science is about as well. The main component is that research project, and each PURE student works in a different lab or a range of labs. But then we meet as a group, the PURE class meets as a group to focus on communication skills, presenting your science, critical thinking, thinking about the experiments, reading papers, and attending seminars like this so you have an idea of what you can do with your training. PURE is a year-long program. It begins in the summer. We accept applications in the spring. And the number of PURE students we take each year depends on how many faculty members have positions open. So PURE is the only program on campus I'm aware of that if you're accepted into PURE, you're guaranteed a position in a research lab. We will only take as many students as we can place with faculty. So year to year, that number varies depending on what faculty are willing to participate. If you are already in a lab, you can also apply to PURE. And that makes it a lot easier on me because I don't have to place you in a lab, you're already in one, and you just get this additional content from the PURE program on top of your already existing research experience. So the application process is in the spring. I do a census of the faculty, figure out how many students I can take and place in labs. Do that in late spring, and then the program begins in the summer. And we have a week of orientation, which is really just a couple of classes to get you familiar with the research environment. let you know what the expectations are, take safety classes, a hands-on safety class, and have a barbecue at the end of the week. So that's just an extra incentive for applying to the program. And then the rest of the summer is spent working in the lab, getting accustomed to being in the lab. About half the Pure students or more have no previous research experience, so you're just getting used to being in the lab and getting comfortable in that environment. Summer is a good time to start because hopefully you have fewer distractions over the summer and can spend more time in the lab. In the fall, you continue on your research project in your faculty member's lab, but that's when the Pure class meets and we hold the seminar where we have student research presentations. Students talk about their research. They present papers from their discipline. We talk about the culture of science, peer review, how to write a grant, how to get a paper published, and we have these career seminars. That continues in the spring as well, and in the spring we have a capstone project for Pure. All Pure students present a poster of their work at the Showcase for Undergraduate Research Excellence, which Dr. Snyder mentioned during her presentation. If you guys haven't been to SURE, you should go. You should go next spring. It's once a year in the spring. It is a fantastic day. It's a fantastic afternoon. There's a great energy there. It's a great opportunity to go and see what your colleagues, your peers, fellow students have been doing in the research lab. So Pure is also an official course. It is 4912, which is the designation for independent research, but there's a specific section of 4912 for Pure. And again, it can count as that restricted elective credit. You register for 3 semesters, you get 1 unit of credit per semester. That adds up to your 3-unit restricted elective class. There is that competitive application process. I get 30 or more applications a year, take maybe 10 students from that pool. In general, we look for a 3.4 or higher GPA and some upper division coursework. So we want to know that you have some idea of what you're getting into. You have some conceptual basis of molecular biology. So maybe you've had QBM or molecular biology 1 or something like that. The applications generally fall into 2 categories: students with a 4.0 and no upper division coursework, and students with more like a 3.4 or a 3.7 and upper division coursework. We tend to favor upper division coursework over GPA because that shows some experience. And if you think about that Division 2, if you haven't had upper division courses yet, you want to do really well in your lower division courses, right? Boost your GPA before the really hard courses come online. And as I said, the program begins in the summer, so you have to have the summer free. You have to be available year-round for this program. So in the last couple slides, I'll go back to the beginning and talk about that supply and demand problem and how do you find a position on your own. So even if you enroll in honors and major or ramp or something like that, you still have to find your own position. As I said, I think Pure is the only way that guarantees you a position in a lab. So how do you find a position? Well, if you are part of ramp or honors and major or something like that, you can at least say, I've been accepted into these programs and I'm looking for a lab. That shows some amount of commitment to a research experience, being part of a program. The usual way people find a position is you email lots of faculty, maybe say 35 of us, all of us, and hope that somebody has a position open. That is, when you do that, expect a lot of no's and expect a lot of non-responses, just because faculty get a lot of requests. Some of them ignore that request. Many of us don't have a position open, so we say no. But you need to be persistent. You can also think outside the box, and some of these things are listed in the FAQ as well that I had on the first slide. Positions down at Lake Nona in general are easier to find than on campus because not everybody can make it down to Lake Nona on a regular basis for that research position. So think about working down at Lake Nona. Think about working at other institutions like Sanford Burnham Research Institute. Internships, there are internships at Orange County Wastewater. That's a microbiology facility. Off-campus summer experiences, the research experiences for undergraduates. Those experiences, those programs are listed on the Office of Undergraduate Research website. Probably the best way on campus to find a research position is to do this. Perform well in your class, a class that's taught by a research active faculty member, an upper division class, do well in that class and get noticed. Show interest, go to office hours, do well on your tests, ask questions, and after 1 or 2 exams and you've got an A in your course, you're doing well in the course, then you hit up that faculty member and say, I'm really interested in cancer biology or whatever, and do you have a position open in your lab that I could work in this field? At that point, if you've done this, if you've done well in class, if the faculty member knows who you are, then you're no longer an unknown quantity. When you send out an email, you're just a name in an email. The faculty member doesn't know you. And so it's difficult to take somebody that you've never met or you don't really know. But if you're in that faculty member's class and you're doing well, they know who you are. They have a sense of who you are and what your interests are. So it becomes much easier for a faculty member to take a student, to cherry pick a student from their own class that's doing really well and to offer them that position. So you can try the shotgun approach of just emailing everybody and hope somebody will give you an interview, hope somebody has a position open. But it's easier if you get to know the faculty member first and then ask them for that position. In essence, it's kind of like stalking your faculty member. So what are faculty members looking for in the students we take? Well, we're hoping that you'll stick around for at least 2 years before you leave. It takes a semester or longer just to train an undergraduate to be maybe minimally productive in the lab. So if a faculty member is going to put effort into the student, they want to see productivity out of that student. So having 2 years left is a plus. If you're a junior, that's the time to start looking. It's also a good time to look in the spring if you're available over the summer, because then again you have more free time, fewer distractions. Theoretically, you can devote a lot of time to your lab if you're there over the summer. Some upper division coursework, just like with the pure application, you have some grounding in molecular biology. If you've taken QBM and done well in QBM, that's a big plus because you know how to handle a pipette min, you know basic lab procedures. You will need at least 10 hours per week to work in a lab, and that's not 2 hours on Monday and 1 hour on Tuesday. It's a couple of blocks of time. You have to have enough time to get into the lab, set up your experiment, run the experiment, and then clean up when you're done. That gets to the personal responsibility too, the cleanup. So you need to have blocks of time where you can be in the lab. If you only have 2 hours in the afternoon, that's not going to cut it. You're going to have to either find time or set your schedule so you have Tuesday and Thursday afternoons free, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday mornings free. You have to find the time to be able to be in the lab. You want to be responsible. If you say you're going to be there Tuesday, Thursday afternoons, you need to be in the lab Tuesday, Thursday afternoons. If you're going to be absent for some reason, you need to let your mentor or the people in the lab know. And you need to take the initiative too, and not just always do what the faculty member tells you to do, but look up papers on your own, read on your own, ask questions, get comfortable in the lab without having to have somebody tell you what to do all the time. Now, the flip side of that, though, does go back to personal responsibility. You don't want to do anything in the lab that you don't know how to do. You don't want to touch and use equipment that you aren't fully comfortable with. That gets to personal responsibility. There are a lot of hazards in the lab, but they're really only hazardous if you don't know what you're doing. So you want to be proactive, but you also want to be cautious and responsible at the same time. What can you expect when you find that lab position? Well, you may be doing everything from washing dishes to that full honors and major thesis. And a lot of people start off here with dishwashing. If you're going to be in a lab, the faculty member, again, is going to want you to put some effort into that. So you will start by just assisting with basic lab chores. And if you prove that you're responsible with that, you'll move up the ladder and you'll be giving more and more responsibilities, more things to do that are really research related. Science is not a individual activity. You're going to be part of a team. You're going to be part of a lab. And so you can look forward to working collaboratively with people in that lab, working with a graduate student or a postdoc or a technician on a project. You're going to start out poorly in most cases, and you will improve over time. So you just have to have the patience and the tough skin to get through those failures and work towards improving your performance. And then you're going to get variable mentoring too. Some faculty are really hands-on and will be with you a lot. Some faculty members you will hardly ever see because of their other commitments. So in many cases, you're going to be mentored directly by somebody in the lab that you're working with, a postdoc or a graduate student. And what you get out of that interaction depends partly on you, but also partly on that particular person you happen to be paired with. So as this last slide, just to prepare you, if you guys have not been in a research lab and you haven't had a research experience before, research is tough. It does involve a lot of failure, and it's a lot like trying to do this, pushing a boulder up the top of a mountain. It is not easy to do. It involves a lot of failure. Failure is just an inherent part of research, and you have to be able to deal with it. You have to have a tough skin. A lot of people get in the lab and they suffer from this, the imposter phenomena. They can't get anything to work, they have a lot of setbacks, a lot of problems, and they think, this just isn't me, I'm not good enough, I can't do this, I can't believe I got this position, I don't deserve to be here. But that is actually a normal reaction. I mean, they have a name for it, right? The imposter phenomena. So if you have those feelings, if you don't feel like you belong, if you're feeling insecure or unhappy with your progress, just realize that is part of the process, and it's what many people go through. And again, it's just part of that process of having to repeat experiments over and over again, troubleshoot, get through those failures, and eventually reach that success. But in the process of getting to that success, make sure you can get over this hump. You guys, if you found a position in the lab and you're being mentored and you are there, you're there for a reason. You deserve to be there.